We start tonight with that developing news from Capitol Hill. Just a few hours ago, the January 6th committee unanimously voted to refer Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, to the full House for criminal contempt. The vote comes on the heels of the new bombshell revelations found in the very emails and text messages Meadows himself exchanged before and on January 6th. Committee members were taking pains tonight to point out the pivotal role Meadows played.
Mr. Meadows put himself in this situation, and he must now accept the consequences.
It certainly appears that Mr. Meadows played a key role in events that culminated in the violent attack on the Capitol and on our democracy.
Mark Meadows has committed a crime, in this case, a premeditated one. No one is above the law, not even a former president's chief of staff.
I expect the Justice Department to move as swiftly in dealing with Mr. Meadows as it did with Mr. Bannon, and prosecute him for violating the law and his duty as a citizen.
The new information was detailed in documents that Meadows had already handed over before he decided to stop cooperating with the investigation, claiming executive privilege. Among the new revelations, we learned Mr. Meadows participated in meetings and calls during which the participants reportedly discussed the need to fight back against mounting evidence of purported voter fraud. Meadows also sent an email to an unnamed person saying the National Guard would be present to protect pro-Trump people. Committee members tonight shared text messages that Meadows' former colleagues were sending from inside the Capitol building, pleading with the White House to intervene, pleas that went ignored.
For 187 minutes, President Trump refused to act. When action by our president was required, essential, and indeed compelled by his oath to our Constitution. Mr. Meadows received numerous text messages, which he has produced without any privilege claim, imploring that Mr. Trump take the specific action we all knew his duty required. These text messages leave no doubt the White House knew exactly what was happening here at the Capitol. One text Mr. Meadows received said, quote, "We are under siege here at the Capitol." Another, quote, "They have breached the Capitol." In a third, Mark, "Protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows on doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something?"
Well, it turns out that Trump's own family and friends over at Fox News were begging the president to take a stand against the ongoing violence.
Indeed, according to the records, multiple Fox News hosts knew the president needed to act immediately. They texted Mr. Meadows, and he has turned over those texts. Quote, "Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy," Laura Ingraham wrote. "Please get him on TV. Destroying everything you have accomplished," Brian Kilmeade texted. Quote, "Can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol," Sean Hannity urged. As the violence continued, one of the president's sons texted Mr. Meadows, quote, "He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough," Donald Trump Jr. texted.
Meadows sat down tonight with Sean Hannity, who was among those urging Trump to call off his supporters. No mention of the text messages, but Meadows did try to argue the committee is overstepping.
If we look at senior officials, chiefs of staff, and those senior to the President of the United States, compelling them to come in and testify, and what we're seeing now, there's lots of jurisprudence and at least legal opinions and law that would suggest that that's not something that should be in the purview of Congress.
The full House is expected to vote on the committee's recommendation tomorrow night. Should it pass, it will then be up to the Justice Department to file charges. Another former Trump insider, Steve Bannon, already, of course, faces 2 counts of contempt of Congress. His trial scheduled to begin in July.